My wife and I like to go to yard sales, and we hit a yard sale here in town this summer, and this guy had this nice little dish here. Looks like they got it from Goodwill, but got this dish, and it was full of pennies. This was also at the sale. A Buffalo nickel, 1913S. I wish that was an actual Buffalo nickel, but I think it's pretty cool. Probably be a backdrop in the nickel videos that we do. So if we look in here, this cup, you can see there is a bunch of wheat pennies in there. There's also a few nickels mixed in that we saw just kind of going over the top. So, and a lot of memorials. So what we're going to do is I'm going to dump it out on this paper towel back here because it looks like there's a lot of junk in there. I don't really want to get it everywhere. Contain as much as possible. I'll get them all sorted out. And I know this is a nickel mat, but we'll sort the pennies out across here, kind of do some division and of the different dates, and I don't know, might do maybe a handful at a time. So might take like 4 different handfuls to get through that, and we'll come back and show what we find in about a quarter of a cup here. Right, so I actually took a couple handfuls out of there, and as you can see, it didn't really make that much of a dent in it. So right now, this is kind of where we're at. We got a 1964 Canadian, and then starting 58 there, work on our way back. Got a nickel up there. Looks like a 1941 right there. But I'm bringing you in because we found a 1919. No mint mark. So 1919 Philadelphia. Kind of in rough shape, but pretty old penny. And then we found a 1943. Looks like no mint mark either, so we found a steel penny in here also. So that's, don't find very many of those. So I'm going to continue going through this little pile here, clean out all the junk, and back there's all the regular pennies. And we'll continue to add into the wheats up here. Okay, made it through that bunch. That's all the memorial pennies. And then here's all the wheat pennies. That's actually a 1959 on a wheat penny. So here, it's kind of hard to see, but that's a 1920 and 1930. And then we got a 34, 35, 36, 37, 39. And then the next row is the 40s. We don't have any 1940s, but a whole bunch of 1940s pennies. And then the next row is 1950s pennies. And then down here, we got a 1961, and it's got a little thing like somebody had it on for a necklace. A little corrosion on it. And then that 64 Canadian penny. And then the oldest 2 pennies we found so far, we got a 1919 Philadelphia, and then that one's a 1919 San Francisco. Kind of hard to make out there, but right there you can see it, 1919. Okay, and then something else I ran across, found it really odd. Oh, sorry, this isn't the really odd one. Kind of odd, but 19 something. It's a wheat penny, and there's some damage there. So not sure what the year is, but it's a Philadelphia. The really odd penny is this 1972D. Now, you can see where the 1 and the 9 kind of are, and it kind of looks like in the God We Rust quarter, the Kansas quarter, where it just wasn't really struck. So I don't know if anybody is good with pennies and can give me some advice on that. I'd appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna get a couple more handfuls out of here after we get rid of that pile of pennies into something else, and we will start going through it. As you can see, there's a lot of trash in here that we're picking out. See you in a few minutes. All right, we made it through that pile, so we'll dump the rest of this out here in a minute and go through it. I already see a Canadian in there. Might be another one or two. But as you can see, the only 1920s we have are 1920. And then we got added a few more to the 30s, maybe 2 or 3, a lot more to the 40s, a lot more to the 50s. There's our 2 Indian head pennies, 1919s, and so on and so forth. And then we did add another 1919 here. So this one will go right there. And then the ones with the holes and the little necklace holders on them. So when I come back, we'll have that dumped out. And if we find anything interesting, we'll bring it back in. If not, we will just keep stacking and show you what we end up with when we're done. All right, bring it back in. We're about, well, a little less than halfway through the pile. And we did find a 1954 Denver nickel. Let's see, where we at? We found a 68 made into a necklace. We found another 64. And then a 1924, a 1921. Looks like it's got an S mint mark on it. And then just picked up this handful here, and underneath that was a 1943 S still penny. So that means we have the P, the D, and the S. That's pretty awesome. Well, we'll keep hunting, and if we find anything else interesting, we'll come back and show you. If not, we'll be back for a wrap-up. Well, about 2 more handfuls in the pile. There's the second handful. We found 2 more pieces made in the necklace pieces here, 54D, so a wheat penny, and a 70. And we found another 1943 Philadelphia still wheat penny. So that makes 4 of those, 1D and 1S, so 6 total. I don't know why I'm surprised. I mean, it is somebody's pennies they were collecting. I haven't seen anything past 1984 in here, so they're pretty old as far as pennies go and as far as the date. Anyway, we'll get back to it, and if we find anything else, we'll bring it back in. All right, that's where we're at with the pile. About a third left. I still got that little pile there to get through that was in my hand, but this was in my hand, and I find this rather odd. 1947. You can see it looks like there's been another like strike around there, around the side, and that looks like IBER backwards somehow. Looks like the Liberty's all messed up there. And then on the back, I mean, that looks, I don't know, that just looks strange. I'm not sure what to make of this. I'm gonna have to do a little more research. Anyway, another oddity in this. I'm just gonna stick that right over here with that oddity, and we'll get back to hunting. All right, we made it through the pile. All of our discard pennies are in there, memorials. We still got those 3 nickels up there. This is kind of look at the piles here. So 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And then these guys here. So, oh, we did find another 1943 Denver minted penny and 2 more Canadians in that bunch. So what I'm going to do is get this all cleaned up. I'm going to kind of sort these pennies out, and I'll give you a total count of what we found, what years, that kind of stuff. And we'll be right back. We're going to wrap up in little segments here. We're going to start with Canadians and then teens and 20s. So here we have 5 young head Canadians at 56, 264s, 265s, and then the next year's is 66. Actually, I don't think these are young heads either, no. So 3 young heads, 3 not young heads. And then we have our 2 coins that we don't know the date on. So kind of threw them in here because they're unknowns. And then here we got a 1919S. You can make it out right there. We got 3 1919s, no mint mark. 3 1920s no mint mark, a 1920D, then 1924 Philadelphia. Oh, sorry, skip this 1921S up here. 1924 Philadelphia, 1926 Philadelphia. So that's it for the 20s and teens. We'll get the 1930s up here next and come back and show you what we got. Yeah, does that look like a might be a 1937 or a 1927. We'll call that a 1937. It's kind of beat up really bad, and it's really hard to tell. So 1937 Philadelphia. Here we got a 1930 Philadelphia, a 30 Denver, 31 Philadelphia, a 34 Philadelphia, 235 Philadelphias, 35 Denver. We got 336 Philadelphias, 237 Philadelphias, a 37 San Francisco, and 239 Philadelphias. So that's all the 37s, or 37s, the 1930s, and a 37. And we'll get the 40s out and we'll show you what we found. 1940S, several 40 Philadelphias, 41 Philadelphias, a 41S, 42 Philadelphias, 42 Denver, 43 still wheat pennies, 2 Denvers, 4 Philadelphias, 1 San Francisco. A couple of 44S's, a whole pile of 44 Philadelphias, 44Ds, a 45D, a bunch of 45 Philadelphias, a couple of 45 San Franciscos, a couple of 46 San Franciscos, 46 Philadelphias, 46 Denvers, 47 Denvers, 47 Philadelphias, a 48 San Francisco, 48 Philadelphias, 48 Denvers, 49 Denvers, and 49 Philadelphias. So a few pennies there in the 40s. We'll get back, get these 50s sorted out, and come back and show you what we got. All right, and we're back for a wrap up on the 50s coins. We got a 1950 San Francisco, a 50 Philadelphia, a few 50 Denvers, a few 51 Denvers, 151 Philadelphia, a 51 San Francisco, a 52 San Francisco, no Philadelphias, a bunch of Denvers, a bunch of 53 Denvers, a 53 Philadelphia, a 54 San Francisco, no Philadelphias, 54 Denvers, a bunch of 55 Denvers, a 55 Philadelphia, and then we have 56 Denvers, a bunch of those, no Philadelphias, 57 Denvers with 1 Philadelphia, 58 Philadelphias, 2 of those, and a bunch of 58 Denvers. And then we're going to move up to here. We have a 44 Denver with a hole in it, and a 70 Denver with a hole in it. And then we have the necklace coins, a 44 Philadelphia, a 54 Denver, 61 Philadelphia, 64 Philadelphia, 68 Philadelphia, and 70 Philadelphia. And then up here, we have our finds of the jar instead of the box. We have that 1972 Denver minted coin, where you don't really see the 1 or 9. You can see a faintness there, but not really there. And then we have this 1947 coin that is kind of strange. So we'll have to maybe see if we can find somebody that can tell us what's going on there. And then our absolute finds of the jar there are the 1902 and 1903 Indian head pennies. First 2 in our collection. So we'd like to thank you for watching. If you like our video, a thumbs up would be appreciated. And if you leave a comment, we will try to answer within a day or 2. Thank you very much again.